Hi guys, welcome to Lunatic Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Lori Lothian, and today we're covering Sagittarius 2022 and some of the amazing luck and opportunity you're going to experience as the ruler of your sign goes through the territory of Pisces for quite a lot of time in 2022. And I would call this for you guys the year of building lucky new foundations. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. And I also would like to let you know that if you're watching this on YouTube, you're catching the wave of about a 10 to 15 minute recording that's going to be, or maybe 20 minutes, it's going to be going into a kind of a teaser vibe of what I think is a really big highlight for 22 for you. But if you want all of the details for how all of the planets are and the eclipses are impacting you in 2022, check the description link below where you can grab your sign for a small fee and have access to my unlisted YouTube video for that sign, as well as if you want to get the whole bundle so you can look at your sun and your moon, go for it. Your rising sign is always the most accurate. And then for that, you need a birth time. Go to astro.com or astro-seek.com, cast your chart, find the whole sign house menu option so that you can do it in whole sign house methodology. I do suggest. Second of all, if you are a sun or a moon, these are very useful add-ons to listening to your rising signs. But start with your rising and then your sun and moon. Sun is often more apt around career and moon around emotional and domestic and feeling states. But you can also say that the sun applies a lot to your life more so if you are born in the day and it's your sect light, and at night if you're born when the sun's under the ascendant descendant horizon, then you might really prefer to look at your moon sign. But I like to look at all three, and usually though you look at the rising sign for the most obvious circumstantial changes in your life, but I'll tell you both count. Or if you have a stellium in one sign, like a ton of planets, like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 planets in one sign, you might want to listen to that sign too. Okay, let's get going. First off, I'm going to give you a broad brush stroke and I'm going to draw a card for you. Everybody's getting a card for the year from one of my decks. This is the Animal Guidebook deck by Kim Krans. If you stay and buy the package, you're going to get a second card from the Angel and Ancestors Oracle deck on top of all the astrology. So it's a lot of juice. So first of all, as I shuffle the animal deck for your totem animal, Sagittarius, I think the thing I'm most excited about for you in 22 is that it's only twice in every 12 years that Jupiter, the ruler of your sign, whether it's your sun, moon, or rising, is in his home sign of either Sagittarius or Pisces. And this year, 2022, is where he's going to be spending about 6 months almost in the sign of his dignity. And in your chart, that Pisces placement in the sky is your whole sign, 4th house of home, real estate, the family of origin, your ancestral line, your mother, but it often connects to the root or the base of the chart. And it also will send rays of goodness up towards your career as well. But the focus will be on how Jupiter can support you to make changes that are so auspicious regarding your home. And I would say for some of you guys, this will be a year of a significant relocation of your home, because Jupiter in the 4th house is tending to want to get things bona fide there. And if it's not a move, then it's like a redecoration or expansion or growth of your home. Finally, for some of you Sagittarius, it will be moving into working from your home, because Jupiter just wants to bring good things in from and about the home in 2022. I will go into some really good details about the timing on that, because it's a 2-part story in the beginning and the end of 22 as well. So first of all, let's draw the card. You can see I was shuffling up a storm there. So I'm reaching over to my sofa here and I'm drawing, because I'm sitting on my chair, a card for you. This is your animal totem card for 2022, and it is the mouse. Funny, I don't think of Sagittarius as very mousy, but it's funny that Jupiter is in the house of the house, right? The house of the home. So do you have a mouse in your house? You have Jupiter in your house? Let's see what the actual Animal Spirit Guidebook by Kim Krans has to say about this card. It is an earth card. She has all the elements, and the mouse is one of the earth animals. And let's see what mouse has to say to you. Now, Sagittarius, the mouse is detail-oriented, small-minded, nitpicky, and nervous. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details, and it can often spend its days fixing, preparing, organizing, scrutinizing. And unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to see a limited and fearful vision of their life and try to control every detail. Now, this is guidance for 22, okay? It's not saying this is how you are all the time. This can be quite a painful experience for both mouse and those around them. When mouse energy is at play, step back for a moment in 2022. It may be time to find a more purposeful project to delve into that's worthy of your exacting eye. So in 22, if you're in balance, Sagittarius, you will be organized, resourceful, and prepared. And if you are out of balance, you will find yourself busy with no purpose. And if you are to bring yourself into balance, you need a meaningful project. Now, I love Sagittarius. I have a lot of them in my life. So look, first off, I want to say this, with the eclipse cycle no longer impacting you directly as it did in 2021, where you were experiencing eclipses that were happening throughout the Sagittarius and Gemini corridor, therefore influencing you. This is a sigh of relief, because the eclipse cycle of 21, let's say summer of June of 2020, throughout all of 2020, all of 21, were really all about you and the South Node going through your ascendant, letting go, releasing some disappointment in your life, disappointments in self, maybe some disappointments around primary relationship like marriage partnerships and stuff, or with the North Node going through the Gemini house of your significant business and marriage partner type people, finding you had to put all your focus on them at the expense of you, or that there is disappointment and letting go and surrender in your identity. And even your health may have been challenged in that mid-20 throughout 21 period. Now, you're still having one last eclipse influence you, Sagittariuses, okay? That is an eclipse on December 4th, 2021 at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So you're not quite off the eclipse hook yet. But here's the deal. Jupiter will be going into Pisces in your fourth house on December 29th, easing up some of the intensity you may have been feeling during this eclipse cycle. And, if you want to go back to May 13th last year, 21, to July 28th, that was when Jupiter was traveling in Pisces as well, but just the first 2 degrees. It's like he put his toes in his Pisces sea. He planted some minnows in the first 2 degrees of Pisces. That's all he got to. And this year, in 2022, starting on December 29th through to May 11th of 2022, December 29th of 2021 to 2022, May 11th, he's come back to Pisces to see which of those minnows are going to grow big fish. Now let's get back to the eclipses though, because this last eclipse at the 12th degree of Sagittarius, South Node in the house of your identity, influencing you rising Sagittarius, also Sun and Moon, if you have any planets between approximately 9 and 15, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 9, 12, 31, 9 and 15 degrees of Sagittarius. If you have planets between 9 and 15 Sag, as your rising sign, Sun or Moon degree, you're going to feel this a lot more. For the Sagittarius Sun folks, this is probably people born around, let me pause my mental faculties and think of the dates. People born around November the 26th to December the 3rd, okay? That window of time, you guys are feeling this last eclipse a lot. So it happens to be a solar eclipse, which means it's about a portal to new beginnings. And like all eclipses, it can also be started off by giving you endings and make room for new beginnings, okay? And so this eclipse is going to be a last hurrah of a longer story, carrying to itself to completion. For some of you, this can also be a letting go around things to do with home, with primary love partnerships like marriages and business partners, and also career stuff, because it's angular to those houses. And so you may be feeling like you have to let go of your job, let go of some role in your job, let go of your spouse or partner, business partner, or they are letting go of you, or your boss is letting go of you. There's a letting go of things in the career house, the relationship house, and the home. So a lot of last minute changes coming through that are in play from that eclipse on December the 4th, 2021, until the next eclipse cycle coming up, which will be, let's say, April 30th, 2022. So the first 4 months of 2022, you're still carrying the last bit of that eclipse story forward. So keep that in mind. I think the good news is this time Jupiter, though, or at this point, Jupiter will be well established in your natal 4th house, bringing you blessings to your career and to your sense of health and identity and to your relationship or marriage. Now, Jupiter can bring blessed endings, and I don't feel that he's always about, what we think he is. And I've seen him take people out when they're dying and they're suffering. I've seen him take relationships out when both people are suffering. I've seen him move you if your home is not serving you, and change your career if it's the wrong career. So, but he brings blessed beginnings and endings, but it doesn't always look like, it can look like an end. So, but Jupiter is your guy. He is your Lord of your ascendant. He is supporting you during this eclipse time. So keep that in mind. You have a real strong Jupiter in forward direction momentum, being supportive. Comparing that to 21, between June 21st and July 28th, he was retrograde. So even though those eclipses were buffeting you about and he was in your 4th house then, he was not able to be as fully supportive as he is right now and into the first 4 months of 22, as you complete this last Sagittarius Gemini reformation of self story. The new eclipse cycle is easier for you because it doesn't impact you directly. You are in what we call an aversion to the eclipses. They're like in your peripheral vision. It's sort of like they're happening over there, but they're not really impacting your identity and your career and your home and all that stuff is nearly at all, really. So this is the good news, because the Taurus Gemini corridor of the natal chart has a quality about it where it's not the biggest deal for you. So how would I describe this energy to you? I would say that you would find it like other people's stories are impacting you and you're noting them, because the eclipses in Taurus in the 6th house can be colleagues at work, co-workers, your employees and people you hire if you have of them. And the eclipses in the 12th house can be, people that you know from far off shores or from the past or from karmic things, or people that you know who are involved in hospitals or mental health institutions or prisons. Like, in other words, these eclipses really are subtle for you. And if they do impact you, the new eclipse cycle coming into being for 22, 23, that goes through the corridor of Taurus and Scorpio, it's not going to rock your world. You get a break in the eclipse cycle energy. So we'll talk about that when we go ahead and do the in-depth report that you're going to be able to buy if you want to check the description link below and get past the teaser that this is on YouTube and buy the whole bundle for your friends and family, where you can look at your sun, moon, and rising sign, etc. But if you don't want to buy your own Sag in-depth or your the bundle, as a general thing, I'm going to say eclipses are laying low and laying off you a bit more than usual, unless you have your south node and north node in your natal chart in Scorpio and Taurus. In that case, you're having a nodal return or half nodal return. And that will be the only way a Sagittarius person won't be feeling, that's the exception to the rule of low key on the eclipses 2022. Now let's go back to Jupiter in the teaser, because that is the most important story for you in 2022, because he's in, his dignity and he's the Lord of your chart and he's able to do good things. We want to see what kinds of timing, what kinds of things he may be doing. So first of all, I really like him in April next year for you guys, because he will be joining with Neptune, and that's kind of alchemy and magic and rainbows. And then later on, in the middle of June, early mid-April, he joins with Neptune, but then later on he joins with Venus and Neptune, and they all hold hands together in the sky on April 30th next year. Now, that's an auspicious sky. That's the whole of April has a feeling of enchantment, of leprechauns and rainbows and happy endings and luck and stuff like that. For you, it's in the home. It's in the house of your real estate. Has to do with something you're doing in from the home, has to do with buying or selling real estate, has to do with moving or buying or sharing or renting homes. It's all about that energy. Now, this applies to the house of the mother. If your mother's in your life, then things are going on around your mom that are important. I will remind you that Jupiter is the blessed endings. If your mother is frail and elderly, this could be Jupiter until mid-May in your 4th house. Your mom might be passing away. And then later in the year, Jupiter will come back into your fourth house, and that could be receiving the inheritance or something. He'll be back in your fourth house, October the 28th to December the 20th, in the last 2 degrees of your fourth house. Now, let's talk about who in the Sag story all this Jupiter juice impacts the most. If you are any Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising from 0 to 29 degrees of Sag, you get a lot of Jupiter luck and juice for those first 4.5 months of 2022 into mid-May, okay? All of January, February, March, April, into mid-May. Then at the end of the year, when Jupiter backs up from Aries and then goes retrograde and stations at 28 degrees of the sign of Pisces, you will find that in that window of time, that, as I said to you, it's like the third week is October 28th to December 20th. If you are a late born Pisces, born near the, just, you know, as it's cusping into becoming Aries. So let's say if we're talking about the sun signs, we're talking about people born in March the 16th to the 21st are really going to feel the juice of Jupiter in his station to go retrograde and direct. Now, if he stations at 28 degrees, that's really pivotal. So if your rising sign, sun or moon, sits around, let's say, 25 to 29 degrees of the sign of Sagittarius, this stationary Jupiter squares your sun or your moon or your rising sign. Now, a Jupiter square is not a bad thing. Anything Jupiter is good. There can be a sense of dynamic action and things really happening and real events unfolding during that time, where at the end of the year, Jupiter will square your sun, moon, or ascendant, especially, as I said, if you're in the very late degrees with the sun, moon, or ascendant of the sign of Pisces. The rest of the Pisces will feel it too, but not with the same intensity, okay? I mean, Sagittarius. Oh, did I say Pisces? Sagittarius. If, yeah, your sun, moon, and your rising is in the late degrees, let's say 24 to 29 degrees of Sag. You feel it with a great intensity. The rest of the Sagittarius feel this Jupiter juice basically squaring your ascendant, descendant, if you're the first cohort, but the rest of them feel it lightly. A Jupiter squared the descendant. Let's talk about that, because if you are one of these late degree Sagittarius, especially rising signs, you're going to feel this as a pressure on an existing business or love relationship that Jupiter's bringing to bear. He may try to end a relationship if he doesn't like it. If you're single, he may try to bring somebody to you, but from the fourth house, like somebody who lives in your town or in the family of origin town that you grew up in, or somebody has the same homeland vibe as you, whatever that means to you. But for the most part, it's a square. So he may be trying to get rid of somebody in your life and close the door on an existing business or love relationship for a lot of you Sagittariuses. Now, there is hope for some love stories for the single Sagittariuses in 2022, but we're going to get to that later in the deeper part of the reading that I'm not doing in the teaser here. Well, what else can I say? Jupiter will retrograde, and his retrogradation is also significant because as the Lord of your sign, when he's retrograde, you're getting less power, and especially for your body, your health, your identity, like you're powering down a bit with him, okay? So sorry about the rattling papers. I'm going to give you the dates of the retrograde. I have way too many notes here, guys. It's ridiculous. But and I haven't memorized them all because I'm only about 5 signs into these recordings. This is November 18th, 2021, and I'm doing the all signs. But Jupiter is going to retrograde on July the 28th to October 28th. So August, 3 full months of retrogradation. When he's retrograde, don't take big leaps and risks around real estate, around home stuff, around, anything really. I mean, don't leap, you must look before you leap. When he's retrograde, he's inward, he's contemplative, he's like the inner guru. He's helping you see things that are true about life and about yourself. Now, Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house, you could go back and visit a homeland that you've been before. Like you could go back to the hometown you grew up in. You could go to a different country if that's where you were born. You know what I mean? You could travel to some homelandy place. But other than that, the retrograde is not a good time for taking risks in anything, including stocks, investments, real estate deals. just wait till he goes direct or do something before that. So the retrogradation, not a hot spot for that stuff. Okay, so we'll just trust me on that. Okay. Now, well, maybe I'll tell you about the love story. But in his retrogradation, by the way, during that window of July 28th, he's stationing retrograde on the 28th, stationing direct on the 28th. Okay. Yeah, let me just leave it at that. Now, also, you can look at his tiptoeing into the early Aries waters on around May the 13th, and then spending time there until around October the 28th as a potential beginning of a love story. If you're a single Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising. And if that is going to happen, it's most likely to happen for the early degree Sagittarius with their ascendant sun or moon in the first 10 degrees of Sagittarius. Or, you know, do the math, you know, if you're a sun sign and you're born in the first, you know, 10 days after we go into Sag season. So that would be like November. My brain is offline. November the 22nd or ish to about December the 2nd or 3rd. So you guys are really feeling the potential for a new love story. And that's for the Sag suns. Otherwise, you know, cast your natal chart, find out the degree. Is your rising sign in the first 10 degrees of Sag? So this Aries, Jupiter entering Aries in the 5th house of romantic love, he only gets to the 8th degree and then he backs out and goes back to your 4th house. So that's why I'm saying that window time is good for the early degree Sagittarius. Now, that is Jupiter from the 5th house of romance, looking back and trining your identity. It's such a good time. You're going to feel more lucky, more healthy. You're going to be more inspired. And, you know, the 5th house for all Sagittarius anyway is going to bring you a taste of what's coming in 23, which is an enhancement of your inspiration, your joy, your play, and your fun and your pleasure in life. And Jupiter in the 5th house can bring you grandchildren, or maybe not, mostly children, if you want to have a baby. And you could also mean that you are inspired to be creative or to start your own business. And so some of what we're seeing in like May, June, July, August, when he's in Aries, you're going to see a lot more of as he does a whole journey through Aries in 2023. So you got a lot of goodness coming to you in that Jupiter juice in that part of the chart, which I love for you guys. So, and if you're with somebody already and not single, and he goes into the 5th house of romantic love, you might find yourself just picking up more joy and love and connection with your partner. Also, be careful for pregnancy, because if you don't want to have a baby, you or your partner, Jupiter sperminates. And when he's in the 5th house, he knocks people up even when they have multiple birth control in place. So I've seen it. I can tell you, if you're not wanting a baby, watch those in those first, you know, that mid-May, June, July, August, September vibe into October, end of October. You're very fertile. Oh, your partner is very fertile if you're not a girl. Also, there's something I was going to say about that, Jupiter. Oh, money luck. Okay, so casinos, gaming, horse races, or investment speculations, buying stocks, especially if they're a bit on the risky side. Jupiter is supporting you to make speculative endeavors that could earn you chunks of money. It is a money luck house, and he's there. So it is not a bad time to play the lottery, but of course, don't break the bank. And if you have a gambling addiction, please disregard this advice. But I'm saying it's just a very lucky money time for you. And, you know, he's going to be squaring your 8th house of investments and inheritances. That can bring in an inheritance to you. And I already mentioned earlier with the Jupiter in the 4th house, that could be through the mother passing or whatever, she's elderly or mother-like figure. But when Jupiter is in Aries, it can also often be activating inheritance money, spousal support money, business and partnership monies, as well as investment money. So those are all ticking up a notch for you guys, Sagittarius, in 2022, especially when Jupiter is in Aries, as I said, mid-May through to the end of October. All right, so that's all the teaser portion of the thing. I don't think I'm going to say much more. I just don't want to give you a short shrift here. Is there anything else I tell you as a teaser for, you know, what could be a really good deep dive into 22 if you just want to go below and for almost pennies, you know, buy the whole report. I want to remind you of something that's going on for you guys that is a long play, which is that Neptune has been traveling through Pisces for a long time, since 2012. And given that Neptune is in, you know, the fourth house for you, and Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, you've had a lot of confusion about where you're living and where you want to live since 2012. And a lot of you may have been fogged over about the right place to live, or wanted to be near water, you know, even if it's just a swimming pool. And my ex-husband is a Sag sun, and we moved to a place in 2014 with a pool. He's still there. But I'm going to say that, you know, it's not the easiest placement to have foggy Neptune in the fourth house. And this year, I just want to remind you that there's something new, that fresh, that happens in April, when Jupiter does a once every 12-year meetup with Neptune, and then Venus once every year, and the three of them hold hands in a once every 150-year triple conjunction. So, you know, April is going to bring you a fresh lease on home. And there's a lot of you guys will be looking at where you want to live next. And it's going to be a lovely, luscious, enchanted window of time. And on that very day that this lusciousness is happening, there is an eclipse in Taurus at 15 degrees on April 30th. And that is going to be an eclipse sextiling this fourth house from the house of work. And this could be an opportunity, therefore, and health protocols, to move for a health reason, to have a new home for a health reason, to move to a place that's better for your health, or to move to a new place because of an opportunity for work, or an opportunity to change how you work because of where you're living, or to work from home. Okay, those are a few fresh starts that look like this April eclipse / triple conjunction can operate to bring into motion. And when I'm talking about April 30th, you want to add 6 months for the fruition of the promise of a new start around work protocols, and maybe also home. All right, so we're going to stop here, and I'm going to pause the recording as I get ready to do the longer recording for those of you who wish to purchase the entirety of the 22 year ahead video, which can go up to 75 minutes. And so I hope you jump on in for more information. Don't forget, the All Signs is great. Check my description box below for courses and things I'm doing. Sign up for my newsletter, The Cosmic Moonshine Swing and Weekly Astrology News, because you get a free draw reading opportunity every month. You get a 30% discount code, a coupon with me, and lots of juice, right? And you also get the chance to, and you get to take a free course with me. You get all this as soon as you sign up for the Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, just in the description link below. All right, ciao guys. And we're going to go on to part 2. Thanks for listening to this on YouTube.